Thank you for joining me for this brief tutorial focused on managing Pipette Calibration Plans for use with the PCS instrument in our ArtelWare application. I have a lot of information to share with you, so let's begin. Calibration plans in the ArtelWare application help you define the parameters of your calibration program, such as the number of replicates that you're taking per volume, what volumes are being tested, as well as the pass or fail tolerances for those volumes. Now within ArtelWare, there's a couple of different ways that we can add a calibration plan for a pipette. First, we can click on the Create Plan in the Get Started bar. Alternatively, we can navigate to the Configuration section of the software and to the Calibration Plan section. But for today, let's go ahead and click on the Create Plan shortcut on the Get Started bar. When we click on Create Plan, we're then asked to determine what type of plan are we creating today. We're creating a Pipette Calibration Plan, so that's already highlighted, so we'll select OK. Now, a really important thing to note about your Pipette Calibration Plan, it's always a good idea to have something about the volume contained within the calibration plan. So I'm going to call this calibration plan a 20 microliter variable calibration plan. For most laboratories, the same calibration plan is used for all 20 microliter pipettes that are contained in that facility. However, if you have different laboratories that have 20 microliter pipettes, but perhaps their tolerance limits are different from one laboratory to the next, I would recommend naming your calibration plan something with the volume, indicate whether or not it's fixed or variable, and then add an underscore and indicate which lab that calibration plan belongs to. That will help cause less confusion in the end. So the calibration plan name in this case is 20 microliter variable underscore lab A. Lab A has some very distinct guidelines for what they want to assign to their 20 microliter calibrations. The next field is a description field. It doesn't have a red asterisk, so it's not a required field, so we're going to leave that blank. But something that might go into the description field is perhaps you're testing this pipette at one particular volume only. That would be a great piece of information to enter into that field. The next field selection is the measurement type field. If you're using the Artel PCS, a balance, or manually entering in data for this pipette, you'll want to select the first option. If you're using the Artel MVS, our multi-channel verification system, you'll select Artel MVS. But for today, I'm going to be using the PCS, so I'll leave that as Artel PCS, balance, and manual entry. The number of replicates is the next thing that you need to do. By default, most calibrations will require 10 replicates per volume, so I'll go ahead and leave that as is. Now, before we leave this screen, you'll notice that this calibration plan says version 1. In the calibration reports of ArtelWare, we list the calibration plan name as well as the version that was in use. This is so you have full traceability to the information that was assigned to that calibration plan. Next, we need to click on the Tolerances tab. Now, the Tolerances tab is where you define the volumes that you're testing, as well as what pass or fail tolerances look like. There's several different tolerance sources that you can select from ArtelWare. The pipette manufacturer specification, ISO 8655-2022 specifications, ISO 8655-2002 specifications, or you can define your own specifications. If you select the manufacturer specifications, or if you select any of the ISO specifications, you'll notice that an option to enter a multiplier comes into play. But for today, we'll go ahead and select user-defined, because I have some defined specifications that I've already predefined for this pipette. Next, you have to make a decision about the evaluation criteria. Are you looking at inaccuracy, imprecision, or both? Most calibration plans will contain specifications for both, so I'll go ahead and leave that as both. Next, we have to determine how do we want our tolerances or specifications to be reported out as. Do we want them reported out as relative specifications with percents, or do we want them reported out as absolute volumes? I'm going to go ahead and leave this box unchecked because the specifications that I've chosen are based on relative specifications. So next I need to tell the system what are the volumes that I'm testing at and what are the pass or fail tolerances that I'm testing. So I'll go ahead and click on the plus sign and enter in my first target volume. So the first volume that I'm testing is 2 microliters, and my specifications for inaccuracy and imprecision are 20 and 10. So I'll select OK for that. Because this is an adjustable pipette, I'm going to also go ahead and enter in a test volume for the mid-range, which is 10 microliters, and enter my inaccuracy and imprecision tolerances there. And then last but not least, the top volume is 20 microliters, and I'll enter my tolerances for inaccuracy and imprecision for that volume as well. Now, once you've entered these in, you can certainly select a column or a row, and you can choose to remove that tolerance, or you can choose to edit the tolerance as well. Now, one thing to note about how these volumes are entered into this calibration plan is I like to enter the volumes in from low to high. That way I'm leaving the pipette left in its most relaxed state, which is the highest volume. Once you've entered in all of your tolerances, you can then select Approve. And you'll notice that a review comment is required, but a default comment shows. If you wanted to add anything to this review comment, you could, or you could simply click OK. Now, in this calibration plan list, you'll notice there's a lot of different icons. You have a filter icon in this screen, a refresh icon, an import MVS data manager plate layout icon, which is applicable for our MVS customers only. You also have a clone selected calibration plan icon, as well as a create new calibration plan icon. You also have this edit selected calibration plan icon. So if you click on the edit icon, you'll notice that the version automatically changes from 1 to 2. So let's say I want to go to my tolerances tab, and I want to edit the tolerances for that 2 microliters. So I'm going to go ahead and select the tolerance, and let's say that I want to change that to 15 for inaccuracy. And then I'll go ahead and select Approve. And now my calibration plan is complete. Let's clone this calibration plan, and instead let's use ISO tolerances. So this time when we go to the Tolerances tab, we're actually going to select ISO 8655 specifications. I'll receive a message that the limits will be cleared because, again, this was a cloned plan. I'll go ahead and choose a multiplier of 2. Then I'll go ahead and add my volumes for this tolerance. Now you'll notice the inaccuracy and imprecision tolerances do not show, and that's because you're not telling the system which pipette that you're using or what volume pipette that you're using. You'll see those tolerances displayed when you begin your calibration, but you won't see them here if you select pipette manufacturer tolerances or if you select ISO tolerances. Let's go ahead and select 2 and 10 and 20. Excellent. And we'll go ahead and select Approve and OK. So now we can see the 2 tolerances that I've just added. The first tolerance, which is for Lab A, which has user-defined tolerances that I've entered, and the second calibration plan, which is utilizing ISO 8655 tolerances for my pipette. Now there are a few other icons within the screen as well. There's a View Schedules for the selected calibration plan, if you're interested to know what schedules might have this calibration plan listed. And then there's also a Deactivate Selected Calibration Plan icon. Now, a special thing to note about the Deactivate Selected Calibration Plan icon. If you have a schedule, and we'll find out about schedules in another video, if you have a schedule that has this calibration plan associated with it, you'll need to remove the calibration plan from the schedule first before you can deactivate it. So that's important to know. But most of the time, customers will create their calibration plans, and those calibration plans will remain permanent.
One final but very important note to make about the deactivation of calibration plans is once they are deactivated, they cannot be reactivated. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind.
Okay, that concludes our brief tutorial. Do you have additional questions? Please contact us at 1-800-225-4034 option 3 or at support@aicompanies.com. Thank you.